Hey guys, another awesome week of Come Follow Me. It's actually two really short books that are just filled with goodness. Filled with Paul's testimony of just absolute joy and Christ. So there's some really good things in here to focus on. Shouldn't take you too long to read, which is kind of good because it's one of those times a year where everything just starts to ramp up, isn't it? As you can see, I'm outside because it's, can you hear that? The waka waka, otherwise known as a fantail. Beautiful New Zealand native bird flitting about over there. But anyway, as you can tell, I'm outside. It's about 12 degrees, so it's pretty cold, and 54 for those of you who do Fahrenheit. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go sit in the sun. But I am under here, see? Hey. Okay, so introduction. Let's do this first. These are both written about AD 60 to 62 while Paul's in prison in Rome. So the one to the church in Philippi, or Philippians as we know it, was the earliest. This is like the church in Philippi was the earliest founded by Paul, and you'll see that in Acts 16. It talks about that. That was the earliest church founded by Paul. So there are other churches formed and by other apostles. This was Paul's first one. So although it ended abruptly, and we don't know why, they continued to send him supplies and as he travelled, and you'll see this in Acts. He also visited twice 6 years later as he passed through. He passed there on the way to somewhere and back again during his preaching, and they loved him then. So when news reached them of his imprisonment, they sent a man called, Epaphroditus, I think it is. And you'll see that in chapter 2, verse 25, to minister to him. So, like, you hear someone's in prison, they're all like, oh no, go, send someone to see if he's okay. Obviously, these people really loved him and cared about him because they continued to support him, and more than just word, they supported him in deed by actually physically supporting him. So this particular Epaphroditus, I'm not good with Greek, I apologise, he returned with this epistle to the Philippians. The main purpose of this epistle is to express gratitude and affection and to cheer and uplift. Being that it's coming from prison, and we'll talk about that in the next insight, but what can appear like a prison can actually be a saving grace. And for Paul in this instance, yes, he was in prison, but it also kept him safe, and he needed to be kept safe because there was a lot of people that wanted to kill him. We talked about this back in Acts, and we talked about this. Just that, there was a lot of people that had killed Christ, killed other apostles, and hunted other church members down. Because Paul was one of them, right? And, got changed. Road to Emmaus moment. But they were still out there hunting, and they wanted Paul. So actually being in prison, because we'd gone through that, they'd passed him on up through not knowing what to do with him, because he hadn't actually broken any laws, but he had broken some cultural, okayness. But it was not actually breaking the law. It might have seemed inappropriate to the people at the time. They just didn't like it. Whereas actually other people really liked it. So it was just, a bit of a new thing. And we'll just put him in prison until we decide what to do with him. Assuming he was treated pretty well in prison, being that he could write these epistles and people could visit him. So it doesn't sound like he was in the deepest, darkest dungeon and forgotten about. But we don't actually know. But he talks about it as being an uplifting thing. And we'll talk about that more in the next one. Now, Colossians, on the other hand, was a response to a visit from a guy or a man called Epaphras. E-P-A-P-H-R-S, Epaphras. He was the evangelist of the church in Colosse. Concerned for their behaviour because they were seeking God things by earthly means. So they were trying to quantify Christianity, if you will, by actual evidential proof through using machinery or witchcraft or all sorts of things. There was some bad behaviour going on, and they were just seeking the right answers, but in the wrong places, basically. So this man, he comes for, just plane overhead. So this man comes concerned with their behaviour. He's like, this is not good. This is not good for this people. This can happen. So I'm going to go get some advice from Paul. So Paul then sends this epistle back with this man as well. Paul's reply shows that Christ is the one principal power of the unity of the universe, and that sanctification is to be found only through union with him. And you will see this in chapter 3 mostly, I think it is. Let me just check that for you. No, actually chapter 1 and chapter 2. Chapter 3 is about something else. But chapter 1 and chapter 2, you'll see a lot of the phrases, and we'll talk about this too when we get there. That'll be insight number 4. You'll see a lot of through him, by him, because of him, with him, those kind of phrases. Really pointing out that not only Paul's testimony of Christ, but if you want to find these answers, this is how you do it. It's with Jesus Christ. He is the only way. It is him. So really lovely put together there. So that's a basic, and that's just taken from the Bible dictionary. So go have a read of that. It falls into the third group of epistles. And we don't have many epistles left before we head into some other books. So, look forward to that. But for this week, have a look at these 8 chapters. They're not particularly long, and they do have some really good things in them. So we're going to go talk about that. We're going to start off in Philippians chapter 1. So I'll see you there for insight number 2. Bye.